Hello, my name is Mina Vasquez, and this is my audience member and recorder, Jesse. And this is my final persuasive speech. Global warming has been a hot topic recently in the last couple of years, and many have already known a little bit about our plastic pollution problems and our deforestation and the melting ice caps, but many don't know exactly what's causing these problems and how we can be more aware and help fix them. So, palm oil. It is one of the leading causes to deforestation and habitat loss in many of our rainforests around the world, which aids heavily in our global warming problem. These detrimental, devastating actions, all for this miracle oil, call for action, call for change in order to protect our wildlife, the indigenous populations, and the forests, the rainforests that these call home. What is palm oil, many may ask? It is the oil that is too good to be true. Many have never heard of this, but it is most definitely somewhere in someone's home. It is originated from the oil palm tree in Africa. The tree produces a fruit in which the fruit itself and its kernel produce the oil, which we extract. 60% of it usually goes towards various different food products. About 30% goes to cosmetic and beauty products, with the rest being used as biofuel material. It typically takes up about half of the different products that are in our grocery store, or is in half of the products in the grocery store. It also has such a high demand as it is naturally highly saturated, which makes it a much easier and stable fat to work with, and it cuts back on the use of trans fats in many of our products that other cooking oils may provide. It also is able to be produced in a much smaller amount of land, and is one of the most efficient cooking oils that we have on the market right now, which makes it insanely cheap to produce. It has all these benefits on the surface, right? But it comes at a cost. And these costs can cause detrimental effects to our environment. Due to its cheap production cost and its high demand, the industry has increased significantly in just the last couple of decades. It has caused rapid growth in oil plantations all across the tropical regions of Southeast Asia, Africa, and even Latin America. In places like Indonesia and Malaysia, it is one of the number one sources of income for their economy, as this area alone produces over about 2/3 of the world's palm oil supply. Millions of acres of rainforests are being cut down to harvest these palm oil plantations, which aids heavily in our deforestation and global warming, as trees in the area are able to regulate and soak up all the extra CO2 that is in the atmosphere. So cutting down and burning these forests releases the extra CO2, increasing global temperatures around the world. This is not the only environmental problem, though. It can also cause air pollution in some areas. In Indonesia, many of these plantations take place on peatlands, which are moist wetlands, which we dry out and burn to sustain the plantations. When doing so, it releases immense amounts of carbon dioxide and methane into the air, making it much more likely for wildfires to spark, increasing air pollution in these tropical regions. And the rainforest is tropical rainforests are known to be the most biodiverse regions in the world, as they have hundreds of different species of plants and animals and other organisms. Cutting down these large amounts of rainforests also cuts out and displaces many of these organisms and plants and animals. According to the Planet Rehab article, animals such as the Sumatran tiger, Sumatran rhinoceros, orangutan, and elephants are at such a high risk in critical endangerment lists. As the demand for palm oil is likely to double by the years 2050, it is likely that we will no longer see some of these animals in the wild in our rainforests. They will become extinct. But animals are not the only ones who rely on these forests for their survival. Many indigenous populations in a lot of these tropical regions rely on the forests for their food and survival and habitats as well. So it'd be very bad for many different peoples. If palm oil is everywhere and is in everything, is there really a solution? Yeah, there are many different solutions. Since the oil has, quote, seeped its way into every corner of our lives, according to author Jocelyn Zuckerman, it would be near impossible or take decades to cut it out completely. So boycotting the oil itself is not the solution. The solution is in how we harvest it, how in creating more better agricultural practices, and finding more sustainable alternatives as well. With the use of genetic engineering and better agricultural practices, we can increase productivity in existing plantations by up to 60% without having to cut down more land. The discovery of dwarf palms can be planted as they remain shorter for a longer period of time, which increases productivity, and it makes it much easier to harvest as they are at a lower state. And their small size makes it much easier to compact more dwarf plants in a smaller area of space. Also, by implementing regenerative agricultural practices, such as laying down the palm trees in order to protect the soil from heavy rains and slowing down the water evaporation process, we can get the most out of the soil without damaging it so fast. Implementation of regulations and laws by local governments is going to be one of the biggest aids in order to keep farm holders in check and monitored to make sure that they are practicing these ethical, more sustainable farming practices. This could be done from up above. We can monitor using satellites to track forest density and watch for common losses in order to keep farm holders accountable and who's causing the deforestation. What can the average consumer do? Typically, the average consumer can consume less processed foods, as that's what it's mainly in, the oils, along with making sure that the foods that you eat have sustainable harvesting seals. It is our job to use our voices to reach out to companies and brands to put pressure on them to harvest more sustainably. The problem doesn't lie solely within the oil itself, and more so in how we use it and how we harvest it. By informing others exactly how it's causing the destruction of our earth and our habitats, putting pressure on corporations to harvest more sustainably, and informing consumers and to make more conscious decisions at the cash registers, we can be pushing the industry in a much better direction, hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you for your time. This is Jessie again.